Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Performance e-streaming. It is Sunday night, and that can mean only one thing. It is the My Private Sellers Australasian Supercar eSeries here tonight at Las Vegas, baby. Who is going to roll craps? Who is going to get snake eyes? Who will take out the aces? We're going to find out in a short time for tonight's race. So I am, as ever, Mr. Carl Wilkinson with you. Joining me up here in the booth, I have Matt Hunter. How you going, Matt?
Yeah, going good. Yep, looking forward to seeing this one coming from Las Vegas. So let's see who can get a little bit of luck going for themselves.
No, absolutely. A very, very fast track, a very fun track as well. So I'm expecting lots of people to be having a lot of fun here as well. And if you are new to the series, if it's your first time watching the Australasian Supercar eSeries here, well, first of all, welcome. But second of all, you are in for an absolute treat. Of course, if you have not seen a V8 racing around an oval before, it is a very different style of racing. It's not quite like the NASCAR of old. It's a bit different in that respect, so a very fun thing indeed. We're just in qualifying at the moment, and Troy Davidson, the last season's champion, is currently leading that run. Just looking at the championship quickly, it's Gary Wellman taking the lead at the moment after his impressive run with two victories, of course, at the start of this season. Justin Witcher sits in second with Nicholas Walsh in third spot, Craig Roffey fourth, and Maddie Ray sitting in fifth, of course. And we, of course, also have the team's championship, who is being led, I would say, by Simboys, but I'm actually wrong. It is Pinnacle in the lead. They've been sneaking away there. Of course, Simboys, they might have a lot of cars, but they can only have a couple of the drivers nominated for the points. And recently, the drivers that have been nominated have not been scoring those positions. So it's hurt them a little bit. They're sitting in second spot, 2 points behind Pinnacle. And then Rogue Simsport sitting in third, 67 points in total for themselves. So we'll keep an eye on all that is happening in the race. Current temperature is 19 degrees Celsius, air temperature 18. Of course, it is evening here in Vegas, so won't be the hot Nevada sunlight that we are used to, but the day has finished and now it's nighttime, so everything will be cooling down a little bit. Still a little bit of time to go in qualifying as the cars are flying around out there. Gary Wellman just setting his lap, seeing what he can do for this run. Currently up the top, there's Jai Schultz jumping to the lead with Craig Roffey and Troy Davidson.
Yeah, Las Vegas at night with these cars, Carl, you know what that means. When they hit the pit road, we're going to crank up the sandstorm. Well, we don't because we don't want to get copyrighted and get in trouble. But if you can imagine the sandstorm going on when they come into the pits.
We need to get the legally free binding version of Sandstorm to play whenever we have those big pit lanes. Of course, if we see a caution, that's going to lead everybody coming down that pit lane. And of course, it's a relatively, it's a slightly smaller track. It's the cookie color, 2.5 kilometer track, 1.5 mile oval. So it does get very busy on pit lane. And you can see there somebody just sitting on the exit there with the limiter on. You can always tell the limiter, as we said, by the lights flashing. But should be an interesting one here tonight. Who is going to absolutely steal it? Well, we've seen some really good runs recently, but Gary Wellman has been the man on form there.
Yeah, some boys are very, very strong. Gary, in particular, is very strong. 2 wins to open the season with. Yeah, I would not put him past him getting a third one, and I wouldn't put it past any one of the Sim boys getting a win tonight as well.
No, absolutely. Season 6 has been dominated by Gary Wellman and the Sim boys. They've managed to get at least 2 cars in the top 3 2 weeks in a row. Can they make it 3? We're soon going to find out. Let's run through the starting grid for tonight's race. Of course, it is season 6 of the My Private Sellers Australasian Supercar eSeries here on Performance e-streaming. It's Jai Schultz taking out pole position just ahead of Craig Roffey. On row number 2, we've got Troy Davidson and Darren McKenzie. Andy Barber and Aaron Dillon make up row number 3. Adam Malone and Justin Witcher on the 4th row. Row number 5 sees Chris Finley and Kay Donnelly line up next to each other. It's Todd Maxfield and Gary Wellman making a Simboys charger back there in row 6. Raymond Yeager lines up next to Nicholas Walsh on the 7th row. It's Luke Crum and returning Steve Hoppett. Nice to have Hoppett back in the series on row 8. Row 9, we've got Kim Rothie and Peter Gretton. On the 10th row, it is Philip Howe and Nigel Patton. Christopher Tomlin and Kobe Jordan make up our 11th row. And then rounding out the field, it's going to be Ruben Phelps, Maddie Ray, and Joseph Granshaw. 25 cars out here tonight. That is going to give us an enormous roar as they get up to the finish line here, as we look at all the drivers starting to get ready. Of course, a big thank you to the series sponsors, Hot Toddy's Heating Installations, Whicher Electrics, My Private Seller, United Electrical Solutions, and of course RKJ Web Services. Without them, we could not bring you these fantastic pictures here tonight at Las Vegas, as all the cars start to slowly pull away behind the pace car itself. We will shortly be going to green flag racing. Of course, if you're new to the series, well, welcome. But they only have the one set of tyres for the race, so they got a set they start on, and then they can change to one set in the race. Here at Vegas, that can be crucial to get that tyre change in the right spot, because there is a little bit of tyre wear on the right front. So I expect to see people trying to make a strategic stop for that one, trying to pick the best time to come in, get them fresh boots on, and get the race won. They'll probably be wanting to do it around halfway mark. Of course, fuel-wise, they are limited to the car does not have a huge tank, so usually about 60 odd laps usually on a tank. So we'll be seeing some people working out, see who saves fuel, see who uses it up quickly. We're going to find out all those answers and more as the pace car comes around turn number 4 here at Las Vegas. We're about to go to green flag racing. It's about to pull into pit lane, and round number 3 of season 6 of the My Private Sellers Australasian Supercar eSeries is about to kick off here. I'm going to shut up and let's enjoy these cars roaring away for tonight's race. Cross the line here for the first lap of the race. A little bit of drama for Todd Maxfield. He pulled the wrong gear, dropped himself down a position. Luckily, he got the slide. Nobody else really getting caught up in that one, but that could have been a nasty accident early on. Very easy to accidentally shift into the wrong gear. Sometimes if you get with the paddle shifters, if you accidentally hit one side, and it can easily do it. Meanwhile, Troy Davidson working his way through, carving himself up into the lead in the pink Simboys entry. And Troy, we've not seen him up at the front for a bit of time. Of course, last year's champion. Consistency was key to his victor, but he's having a nice run here. It's nice to see him back in the series. He's got Craig Rothie behind him, of course, a superstar when it comes to the V8 supercars. Very good in this car, very good on the road courses as well, but he is very much getting form on the ovals as well. Aaron Dillon sitting in third with Andy Barber, Chris Finley, Darren McKenzie, and Jai Schultz. Jai dropping back a little bit on the start. He's down to 6 positions.
Troy Davison didn't waste any time, got up there, wanted to get onto the point pretty quickly, and we're seeing the other Simboy cars of Dillon and Finlay working their way up there pretty quickly too now. But also seeing Andy Barber and McKenzie and the 5 and the 02, the Southern Stars boys, they are sort of lining up as well, looking to work together.
Absolutely, and one of the Pace Syndicate drivers is absolutely flying at the moment, and that is Joseph Granshaw. He is up 8 positions, almost 9 positions in the 064, really flying in those early stages. It might be a Pace Syndicate, but he has absolutely got the pace at the moment, flying through the field, moving himself up towards Luke Crum here, who's just sitting behind Steve Hoppett. As we said, returning Steve Hoppett. He's coming back after a nice holiday and refreshed and ready to get back in the car and back to driving in the 131 car tonight.
It's always good to see Steve out there.
Absolutely, he did jump into a little bit of a race earlier on in the day. And it was nice to see Steve out on track, although he was suffering a little bit from his shoulder, so hopefully that does not creep up. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, we've got some two wide races. Andy Barber looks to make his way through, getting down the inside of Craig Roffey here at number 5, pushing along nicely. Of course, two wide action is kind of what we expect on these tracks. A lot more downforce in these cars than you have in the regular NASCAR. Quite a powerful engine as well, but that means you can run some multiple lines, and it's very easy to run side by side as well. I say very easy. It still takes a lot of talent, but it's not as likely to just randomly get loose on you and spit you into the wall. But you still have to take care with this car. See Chris Finlay moving up. He's up 7 positions, same as Kate Donnelly. The Sim Boys are absolutely flying towards the front of the field. We've got 3 Sim Boys now moving their way up. And if there's one thing we know about Sim Boys, is they work together as a team, but they will be racing each other in these early stages as well. Raymond Yeager about to go 3 wide in the middle between Wellman and Darren McKenzie. D-Mac having a good run in the 0-2. He's up on the high side at the moment, keeping that car nice and steady. Razor is in the middle at the moment. It is Raymond Yeager there, just keeping the car in the right position. As down goes Craig Roffey, decides to drop down to the low line, moves in front of Gary Marvin. Just chops up a little bit. Everybody just has to let the throttle breathe just to avoid a big accident there. But they all keep it together, and now they're starting to charge up towards the front, using that little bit of a draft from behind. Gary Wellman gets a big slingshot underneath Craig Roffey, moves himself up towards the front. Now we have 4 Sim Boys in the top 4 spots.
Yeah, they're working their way up there very nicely. Of course, Cade's up there now, Donnelly. Aaron Dillon's dropped back a little bit, though. But in saying that, he's still, within 0.7 of a second of the lead. So he's dropped
miles away.
Yeah, so he's dropped back heaps, but it's only like a second. So
I know, it's that crazy thing when you look at the timing screens. The top 10 are covered by less than a second at the moment. That is absolutely nothing. The top 20 are being covered by 2 seconds. So very tight stuff here on the track. As down goes Gary Wellman, drops it below the line, makes a big slingshot, gets himself up into the lead. Going to get himself that bonus point as well. Crucial for championships. Getting those bonus points tucked away early, especially those leading lap ones. They are always useful to have, just so you don't have to think about it later in the race. Of course, you want to be leading the final lap, but if you get 1 lap led, then you can sometimes just ease it off a little bit. You don't have to fight quite as hard up to the front. Now it's Raymond Yeh getting a run in the Pinnacle car. The RKJ Web Services car goes up to the line and manages to lead a lap by absolutely nothing. Very, very close at the moment. We are talking about thousandths of a second between these cars. Just a 1/1000th of a second covering the top 2. About 2 1,000ths, 3 1,000ths covering the top 3 at the moment, and 100th of a second covering the top 5. It is absolutely nose to tail.
That's pretty crazy there. It looks like the car is very nice and settled, not heating the tyres up too much, not suffering too much from aero issues, so they're able to sort of sit there pretty comfortably 2 wide and 3 wide.
Yeah, the cars are looking very flat, very stable at the moment. That's always a crucial thing, and as you said, not overheating those tyres. That is a big goal for these drivers. They don't want to be getting too much tyre temperature in, and you can sometimes do that by really hugging the low line, because you just have to turn the wheel a tiny bit more, and that causes it to scrub a little bit, builds up a little bit more heat. That's why you'll see drivers tend to run a slightly higher line through the corner. Just puts a little bit less stress through the tyre, but of course it is a wider section of the track, so you're having to go further with that. So it can sometimes affect the fuel saving game.
Wow,
so
that is impressive. Sorry to interrupt. The Sim Boys are all top 6 at this moment.
They are. Steve Hoppett's up there, actually. I just noticed Steve Hoppett making his way up very quickly in the 1-3-1. But look at how close this field is. They are really going for it. Great driving skill here. Their spotters are going to be busy telling them where everybody is, but they're doing a great job of keeping to their lines and not wrecking.
Yeah, they're all racing pretty well, and I was mentioning how Aaron Dillon had dropped down back before, and then I've seen him go back up, charge up to about second or third spot, and then he's dropped back down again. So he might be just having a bit of fun.
Yeah, it's just a blink of an eye sometimes, and they can go flying to the front and then all of a sudden drop down. But then again, as I say, there's about 2 seconds covering the top 15 or so cars, so it does not take much to all of a sudden drop yourself way down. Joseph Brenshaw doing a great job working his way up in the 064. He's up into P5 at the moment, 20 positions gained. Nicholas Walsh up 13 spots in the lead of the race. The leading Simboy at the moment. He's got Todd Maxfield right behind him. Todd Maxfield having a great recovery. It's saying he's only gained 9 or 10 positions, but we saw him drop right to the back of the field after a mistake in the mid corner. The 023 United Electrical Solutions Simboy car really had a big moment, and well, he's absolutely proving that he is the hottest of toddies, because he is flying through the field at great pace. And he is right up there now, battling for the lead. Steve Hoppett's trying to get his lap to lead as well. He's right up there at the moment in the 1-3-1. Up on the high side, down on the inside is Todd Maxfield, I think. And they are really racing hard with each other. Great stuff here in the opening stages of round number 3 of season 6 of the Australasian Supercar eSeries here at Las Vegas.
Steve Hoppett in that 1-3-1, he's really he really wants that lead, so yeah, should be this time around. He'll get the credit for lap lead. Yep.
He does indeed. And as we say, we're not seeing Steve for a bit of time because he's been having some fun on the Gold Coast, having a bit of a relax, but this holiday has absolutely paid off for him. It's rejuvenated the old boy, and he has come flying back and working his way up to the front of the field. Actually pulling out a bit of a gap now over Joseph Brenshaw and Todd Maxfield. It's probably the biggest gap we've seen at the front of the field by about a quarter of a second, but that will not last long. All it takes is one car to get into the slipstream, and that's what's happening to Joseph Brenshaw. It's going up to 290 kilometers per hour, 294, 295 into turn number 3. Gets a huge bonus in the pace as he sits behind that car, gets the draft and goes flying past. And we do see this in this car, of course. It punches a huge hole in the air behind it with that big rear spoiler, that big rear wing, I should say, and allows the cars behind it just to get sucked up right behind them. Flies up there as Brenshaw is really attacking the low line.
He's doing really, really well, but I think it's sort of pretty even now on the outside with Hoppett. He didn't really get a big enough run to get past him.
No, I just noticed this from Brenshaw. He's really attacking the apron. He's got a lot of confidence to drop it below the white line in the corners and hold the car there, and that's a really good skill to have if you can make it work. But you have to be careful, because all it takes is one little mistake going a bit too far. It will unsettle the car, lift it up, and all of a sudden it's going to have a very bad day as the air gets underneath it.
Indeed.
So just looking through the field a little bit, Nigel Patton is the last car in this big group in 21st position. Ruben Phelps has dropped right off the back. He's lost the draft, unfortunately, about 5 seconds off of Patton, and then Matty Ray and Peter Gretton as well. So 3 cars in a bit of bother at the moment as they've lost the draft pack, and they are really not able to carry at the same speed as those front runners. They're down by about looking at speed by about half a second almost, about 0.2 to half a second depending on the lap of the leaders. So that is going to be a painful thing. They're going to need some kind of caution to be able to close themselves up to the back of this main pack to get their races reinvigorated. But we know that cautions are fickle things. When you need one, it will never come.
Yeah, they're banking on that strategy. They're not really racing at this stage. They're just logging laps. They're counting on cautions later on, they are.
That's it. It's not always a bad strategy, because you can't win a race on the first lap, but you sure as heck can lose it. And we've seen that in the past with some big incidents. And Well, in the early stages, these cars are really, really easy to drive, and they're not quite as beastly as in the latter stages of these runs. But once we start hitting that lap 50 mark, the tires are going to start to get a little bit warm. They're going to be getting a little bit warm, depending on how hard you've been racing. And we might see a few people just starting to creep up to the wall. It's so easy just to drift wide, especially out of 3 and 4. And to hit that wall, and then disaster can happen in the blink of an eye. Same when you're racing so close with each other. It's side by side, scraping paint, swapping decals, and just tapping on each other's doors. All it takes is one little move in the wrong direction, and that can spin a car and cause a big, nasty wreck. And when they're racing so close together, when there's less than 3 seconds covering the top 21, one accident in the front of this field can sometimes take out most of the leading pack.
Yeah, and we've already seen that this season with big wrecks taking everybody out. I think it was last week where I only had 3 cars emerge from the carnage and race to the checkered flag.
That's it. I did just say Christopher Tomlin did exactly what I was talking about. He took a big lump of concrete in turns 1 and 2, just coming in to that corner. He just runs up a little bit wide, just gets into the dirty air behind somebody else and takes a big lick of concrete and a lot of damage on the right front of that car. That is really going to slow him down, unfortunately. And when you get a little damage like that, it doesn't just affect the suspension, it also can affect the aero and really slow you down on a track like this. As we're 28 laps in, 106 remaining here tonight at Las Vegas for the My Private Sellers Australasian Supercar eSeries here on Performance E-Streaming. And we appreciate you all watching here tonight. We love having you joining us for this fantastic action. Always a pleasure to bring you some of the best oval racing in Australia and New Zealand, of course. And well, if you are enjoying it, please give the little like button a tap, hit the subscribe button as well, and share away as well. Let people know about the broadcast. The more eyes we get, the more people we can get viewing, and of course, the more people that view the series, the better. Always appreciated. Of course, you can find the latest information on Facebook as well at Performance E-Streaming and the Australasian Supercar E-Series. They do have the aftermath with the stewards, of course, over on the Australasian Supercar E-Series Facebook page, where they'll discuss any penalties or any controversies and sort out all of that stuff post-race. So make sure to head over there if you need to. James Gronshaw again, just really attacking the apron, but it is giving him some serious speed in that 064.
Ooh.
That thing is flying, but it is very, very risky.
Yeah, kick loose out of the exit of turn 4 there, yeah, as the tyres wear. If you keep it low on the exit of turn 4, that can sort of kick out a little bit.
Yeah, I saw him on the apron.
You might want to try and just look at letting it float up a bit.
Very much so. He's really taken that tight line, and I saw about a lap or two ago on the entry to turns 3 and 4, he was right underneath the white line. I actually thought he was coming into pit lane. He was that far down, but he just kicked the car in, and it's making a great pace, but I've got to say that's probably just giving him a little bit more wear on those tyres, and what's a little bit risky, that's always the thing you've got to be careful of, is taking those risks can give you those extra milliseconds, but they can also cost you a race if it all goes wrong.
Okay, we're just going to watch him exit turn 3 and 4 now again. Nice exit this time. So not so sideways on exit.
Yeah, sideways looks spectacular, but it's not the fastest way around a racetrack. Contrary to popular belief, drifting does not make it fast. It just looks good most of the time.
He's definitely got a deliberate tactic. He's holding that car down low. He gets the apron again there.
Really unsettled the car this time, because he just got the apron at the wrong spot, and it just lifted that car up and got a lot of air underneath it. And I could just hear on my feed, it really started to skid the car. You can hear the tyres screeching underneath it, and he just kept it pulling in the right direction, but too much of that can really cost you in the latter stages. It's going to start to eat up those tyres.
Yeah, I'm just worried about those loose exits on turn 3 and 4 heating up that right rear tyre. But he seems to have recovered it a bit now. Doesn't the last couple of laps hasn't really been that loose off the exit. So he might have cooled that right rear tyre down a little bit.
He's still setting some great pace, so leading by about a tenth of a second at the moment. So he's got a good bit of a run up there. As I think Adam Malone might be just paying a visit to the Shadow Realm. He's just had a couple of big moments where the car has gone in and out of existence, but luckily it seems to have settled down at the moment. Just looking through the rest of the pack, it's side by side at the moment behind Joseph Crenshaw. We've got Kim Roffey up there in the 099 Road Sim Sports entry, having a good run on the high line at the moment. He's keeping the Sim Boys train behind him at bay. And it looks like a few people are actually looking to try and get a further line moving up as well, sitting behind this group, but they start to think better of it. Everybody's sort of sitting at a fairly good pace all the way down to Ruben Phelps, who has managed to actually close back up on the field. He just got himself right on the tail of Christopher Finlay. So Ruben Phelps doing a good job of getting himself back up there. It's still Manny Ray and Peter Breton, about 12 seconds back from the leaders. They're still chugging along at a good pace at least, but they are off the back of this big long train at the moment that's being led by Joseph Crenshaw. So as we tick on to lap 38, we are still chugging along at a good pace here. No cautions as of yet, which is always what we like to see. Green flag races are what we love to see. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen. It's always a little mistake can creep in, and that caution flag can fly at any moment. But I think everybody's pretty happy to be running green as it stands. They're going to be starting to think about pit stops in the near future. In about 10 or 20 so laps, they'll start to really start pondering about that. I wonder if anybody's going to come in a little bit early, try and put themselves off kilter a little bit, try it for an alternate strategy. We have seen it pay off in the past, but of course that does mean that you don't want a caution flag to come out when you're in pit lane.
No, and I don't imagine that there'd be too much of a undercut or with the tyres. Mind you, you wouldn't even want to take the tyres this early anyway. You'll want to save them to a little bit later. So yeah, there's nothing really too much to be gained by pitting early. Probably just want to go as long as you can on this tank of fuel. Hope that there's a caution before you run out and have to come in.
That's it. There is a bit of a drop off on pace. It's about 3/4 of a second at the moment. They've dropped off on pace, so fresh tyres will definitely give you that speed boost. But you've got to make them last to the end of the race. Crucially, we've got 93 laps remaining with 41 laps in. So you've got to really think about that. Of course, it does take a long time in the pit stops for these cars as well. They take a long time to refuel. So people will be pondering about what they're going to do with their stop. If it's a green flag stop, they might want to just try and take a little bit less fuel, just to try and get it so they can then get home with one more stop and do it hopefully under a caution, so it's a cheaper stop. Because when you stop under green in these things, it does take a long time. Of course, there's also the perils of getting onto pit lane. When you're running around at this kind of pace, you're not using the brakes at all. You are very much flying at full chat. And that means when you put your foot on the brakes finally, they are cold and they do not like to work. So you've got to be careful not to lock up the brakes coming into pit lane. Of course, getting yourself slowed down to the pit lane speed limit. All of these little things cross your mind, and there's a lot of time to be lost and gained doing a green flag pit stop.
And that's why we sometimes see cautions when there's these green flag pit stops, because someone makes a little mistake and spins. And that's also why if you're out there driving, you want to go as long as possible, hoping that your competitors go in under green, lose a lap or two on their pit stop, and then somebody else spins and brings out the caution, and you stay on the lead lap, and your competitors are either trapped a lap down or have to work pretty hard to get back.
Yeah, Yeah, there's a lot of strategy at play at the moment, and a lot of these drivers are doing the strategy on their own. They're having to strategize as well as race at over 200 odd kilometers per hour, closer to 300 kph. Do all the strategy on the fly, work it out on their fingers and toes as they're racing around. There's a lot of work you have to do in the cockpit of these cars. So cruising along nicely as we've got 90 laps remaining with 44 laps into this race.
I don't think anyone's got an answer for Granshaw's really low line that is running at the moment. So either that or they're not prepared to try what's needed to try and get around him. I think they're pretty happy for him to stay there, but I think that he's got a really low line, unusually low line to see on this track sort of thing. But it's working out really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we saw him carving his way through the field. He started way down in 25th spot, and I'd say that was more so, he didn't worry about a qualifying lap. He just absolutely nailed the race pace, though. He's got some seriously good pace in that car, and that low line is really paying off for him in this stage of the race. Will it come to affect him latterly, though? We're going to find out in the near future. So just looking at our championship rivals, we've got Justin Witcher sitting in 12th position at the moment. He's having a good run in the Witcher Electrics Pinnacle eSport car. Of course, if you are in the Ballarat region and need to get some electrical work done, make sure to get in contact with Witcher Electrics for all of your needs in those areas. Fantastic job, and a very nice bloke as well, Justin Witcher. And I think we might want to look at Joseph Grenshaw, because I think I just heard he's coming into pit lane. And he is in. He's going to miss it, though. He's going to get a big penalty for that one.
Yep. It looks like he came in way too hot there, and he locked those tyres up for a while as well, so that might hurt those two. A lot of cars coming into pits all at the same time. So this sort of answers our question on sort of fuel range.
Yeah. Just seeing Christopher Tomlin, he's missing his boot at the moment. He's had a bit of a poke up the rear by Steve Hoppett. He just came into pit lane, did not call it out over the radio, and Steve Hoppett just caught the rear of that car and knocked off the rear wing. So big moment there. Coming in as pit lane. This is exactly what we were talking about, Matt. You have to be so cautious. I might say jump to pit lane right now, because we're about to have a whole heap of cars coming in on live now. There is a big migration down pit road as we see Kim Roffey and everybody else coming into the lane. Get that music pumping. Pop a few eckies and enjoy yourself, because the rave is about to begin.
The strobe lights are on.
Takes me back to my days of raving. So about 50 laps, that's the maximum it looks like on fuel. So we're going to see a whole heap of other cars darting down the lane in the near future, I imagine. See who can go the longest. Of course, a few of these guys will have been sitting in the pack a little bit. They won't have had to put their foot right down. They could have just enjoyed a little bit of fuel saving. And
I reckon
take that for their advantage.
I also think that Grenshaw picked up a big penalty as well. Stationary time of 1 minute 20, whereas all these other cars that are peeling out now were all stationary about 33 seconds. So yeah, he's picked up probably about a 40-50 second penalty for speeding on entry into pit road.
Yeah, he absolutely did not nail it, unfortunately. He went a bit wide entering pit road and then could not slow it down in time, and he was going at least, I'd say at least 20-30 kilometers per hour over the speed limit. And as we know on the roads, if you do that, you get a very big fine, a big slap on the wrist, and sometimes can even lose your license. For Joseph Grenshaw, it was the penalty of time, and that is the worst thing you can have on a racetrack like this, is a penalty of over around about a minute in length, and he had to serve that one. That's going to cost him dearly.
And there's one thing in racing as well. We always practice when we're drivers. We always practice the corners and our restarts and all that sort of stuff. But we've got to do as much practice on entry and exit of pit road as well, because it is so important. Grenshaw's basically taken himself out of winning this race with that. He may still have an opportunity, but he's going to have to work really, really hard to get those. I mean, he's still 2 laps down now, but he's going to have to work really, really hard to get those laps back. Have a bit of luck go his way, but yeah, if he hadn't made that mistake, he'd still be in a real good chance of winning this race.
Very much so. It's a huge thing, and as you said, Matt, it's crucial that you practice the entry and exit. I think a couple of other people have got penalties as well. I think Nigel Patton may well have found himself with a penalty speeding in pit lane, because he's had to come back. He's had to come in, and he's serving a long penalty as well. So another driver that's been picked up with the penalties. And it's something that I myself put a lot of practice in when I'm actually sitting in the practice sessions before the races. I'll do about 5 to 10 practice pit stops, just dart it into the lane, try and get a feel for the entry and the exit. But a lot of people just don't think about that and just focus on the track itself.
Yeah, great. I do the same thing as well. Always feel like I can mix up some spots on pit road from that.
And it often does help out a huge amount. And you know, if you've not got the ultimate pace, if you can gain time in pit lane, you can seriously jump yourself up the road from people who might have a little bit more of an advantage than you on the track. But if you can take advantage of areas you can use your strengths in, that is a huge key feature. At the moment, Aaron Dillon is the one that has used his pit lane strength to the advantage. One of the fastest cars through the lane itself with a 57.7. So he absolutely nailed his transition time. You know, it's the whole thing of pit entry, stopping on your marks, pit exit, all these little things that give you so much time on the track. And we saw Aaron Dillon dropping down the pack a little bit in the 0-1-3, but now he's leading it with the United Electrical Solutions Hot Toddy's Simboy entry.
Yeah, but he's done a really good job. As I say, he's really nailed that pit stop, the entry, and then the stop itself, and then the exit.
Couple of wounded cars on track. One of them, unfortunately, is the 131 Steve Hoppett. He's got quite a bit of damage on the left front of that car after collecting the back of Christopher Tomlin, who is missing pretty much the rear half of his car, and a big scrape down the right-hand side as well. Just coming into pit lane, was unsighted, unfortunately, by Steve Hoppett, who collected the back of Tomlin. Luckily, it wasn't a huge accident. Neither of them had seriously damaged, but they have lost bits of their cars and time. Joseph Grenshaw, the biggest loser, he's actually sitting behind Christopher Tomlin at the moment. He is a full lap down now, and that was a painful thing to have happen for the man that was leading the race. Up until that point, we have seen really good pace from Grenshaw tonight, but he's going to be relying on a caution now to get himself back into the action and so help him recover from that big penalty.
Indeed, and it looks like Nigel Patton's pitted twice as well, a second time, so he's now showing 3 laps down. So just a bad night going even worse.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, when you get those penalties, you get a little bit frustrated, and then when you're exiting pit lane, you get yourself another penalty, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Seen that happen too many times. 080, Cody Jordan working his way out through the field nicely, up 15 positions. He's sitting there beside Craig Roffey at the moment, just behind Raymond Yeager. So he's managed to leapfrog himself in those pit stops and get himself inside the top 10 at the moment. So everyone's starting to settle in a little bit, just relax a little bit as they get into their next run of the race. We saw drivers making about 50 or so laps before they needed to come into the lane. And that means we're going to see them coming in about 40 laps time. We're going to see our next round of pit stops, and that will be our final round for the night. We've still got 74 laps remaining, so nobody can make it home from here. Everybody will just be not wanting to see a caution flag at the moment, because it's always that awkward time. If a caution flag comes out now, you're sort of in that awkward position where you can't really come home from the pit stop. You could come in for a bit of fuel, but it's sort of not a useful pit stop for you.
No, and I would imagine as well on your next pit stop you'll chuck your set of tyres on that you have spare, if you haven't already.
Yeah, just looking at the lap times, it looks like everybody is still on a slightly older set of tyres as they're about a 31 twos throughout the field. Fastest laps are about 30.7s, 30.4s, so they are a bit down on pace at the moment. So swapping onto those tyres is going to be a crucial decision, and it's really going to help you. You don't want to do it too soon as well. You kind of want to have the best tyres you can get just in case there is a late caution. You see a green, white checker position, because if you've got a pace advantage with those fresh tyres, you can absolutely charge your way through the field and get yourself a victory in the latter stages. Championship leader Gary Wellman is sitting a little bit further down the field, sitting in the 14th position. So he's seen Gary win pretty much every race this so far in season 6, but he's currently sitting in the mid-pack, so he's got a lot of work to do at the moment.
Those 2 wins means Gary's probably got the luxury of just sitting back a little bit and biding his time before he gets up there and makes a push for it. Maybe hoping the front cars take themselves out of contention.
That's it, just keeping himself safe. That's the important thing. It's great winning a championship by getting lots of wins, but consistency can sometimes be the key. If you get 2 wins in the season but don't get another finish, you're not going to win a championship. But if you can stay consistent, that's going to be the main thing. Nicholas Walsh currently sits in 3rd in the championship. He's down in 15th position, just behind Gary Wellman at the moment. So they're in a sort of good position for the race, and they're going to see what they can do in the latter stages as we tick over 65 laps, 69 remaining here tonight.
They're all pretty comfortable just running 2 wide, which is really good to see. Of course, we've got our top 2, top 3 cars single file, but they're back from Kobe Jordan in 4th place onwards. Just sort of a little bit quite happy to sit 2 wide.
Yeah, everybody's sort of in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. We're in that stage of the race, Matt, isn't it? We often see this where everybody just sort of relaxes a little bit. They're not pushing to the ultimate pace. They're just getting the laps ticked away just so they can get themselves in a position where they can then start fighting towards the end of the race. It's all about getting yourself in the right spot at the right time now.
Indeed. I think we've got 2 cars though that are pretty keen to get up there. Jordan and Phelps, also Mackenzie, sorry, in the middle there. So 3 cars that have been hanging sort of around the back. They're pushing or working their way up to the front now.
Yeah, the forward momentum is starting to push forward to them, and they're going to see what they can do and get a bit of a practice run to get an idea of what they'll need to do towards the end of the race. This is something else that you can absolutely take advantage of right now, as everybody's just sitting in a sort of holding pattern, because you can practice getting that run a little bit, get an idea of what you need to do on those final laps. So then when it comes to it, you could possibly find yourself in victory lane.
Timing the draft or timing when to take your car out of line and slingshot past. That's probably what they'll be working on. See, Jordan's got a massive run here now, and he's going to use it and drop down to the low side. Yep.
I kind of had the feeling that maybe Todd Maxwell was trying to shuffle himself in front of Troy Davidson there, just to sort of swap positions, just so they can do a little bit of fuel saving. The Sim Boys are currently commanding the field, but Kobe Jordan is not wanting that to stay in the inside lane production car. He's getting a bit of a run over the Maxfield at the moment in the hot toddies entry, and Todd Maxfield's trying to hold that inside line. We've seen that inside line can be very fast. Got Darren McKenzie right behind at the moment, and he's thinking, well, I'm happy to sit here, but I might want to push you forward. Jai Schultz as well, starting to move forward. We've got 3 wide up at the front of the field, and a little bit of a moment. It looks like Kobe Jordan just got a little bit loose through turn 1 there. That car just not wanting to settle as much as Darren McKenzie got underneath the rear spoiler, and the back aero just disappeared all of a sudden on Kobe Jordan.
Yeah, they're doing very bit of a big push here to try and get up there, lead their lines.
It's a dangerous game to play sometimes, but you've got to be aggressive in racing. As Kobe Jordan's just trying to figure out where he wants to defend, and it's Darren McKenzie making a big run. They get very close to each other. A little bit of side drive, a little bit of a side swipe there as they get sucked next to each other. The cars get a little bit loose as they're coming up to the line. Lap 72 here on the Full T-String for the Australasian Supercar eSeries, brought by my private seller, of course. And it's Kobe Jordan and Darren McKenzie battling it out up the front. Watch for Jai Schultz. We know that Jai is a rather aggressive race driver. He tends to... Oh, contact between McKenzie and Kobe Jordan.
Still green, still green.
We are still green as... Oh, who else got caught up in that one? Did they all make it through, or was it just Kobe and Darren McKenzie that got caught? There's a big check up through the field as well. Todd Maxfield and Kay Donnelly had a big scare in that one. That was close. It was just going back to a little look at it myself, and I'm not sure if they all made it through safely, but of course Kobe Jordan and Darren McKenzie had a big lick into each other, and then who was that down on the low side? Was that Todd Maxfield?
Maxfield got a little bit of a side hit as well, yep. They all appear to have saved it. All going pretty good. You're right, though, some cars were checked up and some cars just used the speed and momentum just to continue around the outside.
Yeah, it was a huge moment. Kay Donnelly will probably want to invest in a new pair of underwear because that was so close with him. He had a car just coming across his nose and almost wiping him out. While that was happening, there's been some new leaders working their way up to the front. Luke Crum got a lap led, and that's Andy Barber and Justin Witcher up there. And Raymond Yeager, of course, the Season 5 champion, he's pushing his way forwards right behind teammate Justin Witcher, the RKJ Web Services car, moving way up next behind the Witcher Electrics. Of course, big thank you to both of those series sponsors, of course, along with United Electrical Solutions, Hot Toddy Heating Installations, and my private seller. Unfortunately, that looks to have taken Todd Maxfield very much out of this race. He's had to come into pit lane to get some big repairs done. He's going to be in for a long, lengthy repair. Kobe Jordan's still running, but he is missing his rear spoiler and quite a lot of damage on that car. Darren McKenzie looks to have made it through relatively unscathed with a fairly big whack on the rear, but he's keeping it going at some pace, but he's going to be hoping for a caution so he can pull it into pit lane, get some repairs done. So we are getting to that stage where people might be looking to sort of come into pit lane in the very near future, probably about the next 10 to 12 laps, so they can make it home. So it will be interesting to see who takes advantage of an early stop and see what they can do. And I think we've actually got Steve Hoppett coming into the lane. I think to possibly get some repairs done, as that car is not looking quite as it should.
Yeah, I was just thinking, working out, lap 86 is the critical lap. So lap 86, you'll most likely be able to make it home from there. That'll be 48 laps to make it home. So yeah, look to see people come in lap 86, maybe even a little bit earlier. Chuck on some fresh tyres and come out and try and undercut.
Yeah, I think the fresh tyres could be key here and could see a fairly big gap being made up on the track. If a big group of cars can come in and get those fresh tyres and have a really good run, they could find themselves in a good position in the latter stages of the race. Of course, they are putting themselves at risk with the caution flag coming out and destroying all of that hard work. So we'll keep an eye on that one and see what's happening. But it's Justin Witcher in the lead. He's got Craig Roffey right behind him. The Rogue Sim Sports cars had some good pace tonight. We saw Roffey starting it off on the front row, and he's back up there now, right behind Justin Witcher, putting the pressure on. Does he go left? Does he go right? Does he go left? He goes down the inside, darting down the inside goes the Mustang. And Craig Roffey looking to make the pass on Justin Witcher. Just doesn't quite have the speed to get a cut up in front of Witcher, but he does get a lap leg, most importantly. Ruben Phelps is flying up now. We saw him almost drop off the back of the lead group in the early stages of the race, but he's come back with a vengeance in the Mobile Breaker Mechanical SRM entry. The 06 is right up there, and getting a flyer could possibly be in the lead of this race in the near future.
Ruben decided to hang back for that first run, and then after that pit stop, he decided he's going to sort of get up here and mix it a little bit. Matty Ray, still his teammate, still sitting back in the 18th spot for now.
Yeah, Matty Ray's sort of again in no man's land. He's got no one to help him, unfortunately. He's still got some fairly good pace, but he's sort of off the back of the main pack, which is down to 15 cars now. Chris Finley is the final car in the main group, and there is only 2 seconds covering first to 15th. But up the front, side-by-side action as Roffey and Witcher battle it out. Of course, Witcher got a fair bit of experience in these cars, a former champion in the series. So a formidable person to race against, as Ruben Phelps gets a big run, starts to push Witcher a little bit, trying to get him ahead. He wants to try and jump himself up into the lead of the race, get himself into a good position. Kay Donnelly in 4th position will be thanking his lucky stars to make it through that big incident unscathed. He had a huge moment. Luckily, though, that thing just missed him, and he was just about safe enough to make it. So we are at the point where they can make it home on fuel. It's going to be a little bit tighter, but they can absolutely make it home on fuel here. I wouldn't expect to see anybody pitting from the main group into about lap 86, because that gives them a little bit of wiggle room as well. But we are seeing Joseph Grenshaw pop into the lane. He's still a couple of laps down after that big penalty. So he's got to really try something to get himself into a position where he can try and get some of those laps back. We saw some great pace from that car, but a pit lane speeding penalty was his night pretty much over and done with.
Yeah, such a shame. He was having such a good run. He was looking pretty good up there. He was running a really good line, a really interesting line, which was making it hard for people to sort of get a run on him. But yeah, unfortunately, just overcooked that pit stop. And yeah, hasn't been able to recover. Hasn't had the cautions come out to be able to recover from that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, it is always a painful thing. Penalties are never fun, but he was having such a good run, but just that little bit of inexperience on pit entry cost him a huge amount of time. As Roffey and Witcher still battling out side by side. I thought Ruben was looking to possibly go free wide for a couple of seconds there, as they are really dusting it up. So lots of battling going on at the moment. We've still got all 24 race starters running. Todd Maxfield's currently in the final spot after getting a big whack on the car. He's 6 laps down. But Nigel Patton, he got caught out with a penalty as well, unfortunately. A couple of penalties for the 90 My Pro at Seller Pinnacle Esports entry. Joseph Grenshaw we spoke about before with penalties, and Steve Hoppett 2 laps down after getting a bit of a whack on the front of his car when one of the other teams was entering. He's dropped off the pace a little bit, but up the front the battle is really starting to heat up. We are very close side by side at the moment, really putting the pressure on. There is nose to tail, barely a cigarette paper separating these cars at some point.
Yeah, there's a little bit of bump drafting going on as well. I saw Phelps give Witcher a bit of a bump draft and got him a little bit wobbly. That's how I was sort of like, oh. But no, it wasn't enough to really unsettle the car. The car's pretty settled. They can take a bit of a bump draft. I think we watch here the yellow car gives the Witcher Electric's car another bump draft there. I don't know too much about it, but I've heard that the bump drafting is not as big an impact as for the oval, for the mass cars. These cars are more about the draft and slingshots.
Yeah, it's they get a big run from behind, but sort of you don't get the pack racing of the cars pushing each other forwards almost. It's not quite as effective.
Yeah, that bubble of air, sort of pushing that bubble of air onto the car in front of you. It's not quite so effective. But we'll see Phelps now. He's got the slingshot draft. Not quite enough, or not quite timed well enough to get past Witcher there. But Craig Roffey's holding on to the lead down the bottom. He's got Cade Donnelly behind him. Lap 91, we still haven't seen these leaders pit, so they're obviously opting to go as long as they can, which would probably be around about that lap 98 to a lap 100 before they come in for their last pit stop.
We've seen Jai Schultz, Luke Crum, Darren McKenzie come into the lane very recently, so they have come in for their final stop, and they're going to see what they can do. As bit of a run there from Justin Witcher on Craig Roffey, and Witcher's getting a good run right behind Cade Donnelly, keeping them honest. But I imagine it's not going to be too long until we see these cars opting to sort of pop down the lane. Of course, if you've got a bit of fuel in the tank, that means a shorter stop time. You don't have to be stationary quite as long if you don't need to fill it up quite as much. So that can really help out if you've got some extra gas in the tank. Sorry. So there are a few little options that can be played out here, of course. So we'll have to see who gets this working the best as they're coming up behind Darren McKenzie at the moment, who's battling to stay just one lap down. He is about to fall 2 laps down, though, as Craig Roffey's getting a bit of a run on him.
Yeah, just looking at the pit stop times of the people who have stopped twice, about 4 to 5 seconds quicker this pit stop around compared to the first one. So that's, as you say, it's probably the difference is fuel in the tank already. About 4 to 5 seconds shorter pit stop time because they don't have quite so much fuel to put in it.
Ooh. Contact between Roffey and McKenzie there, coming through turn 3, and they just keep the cars pointing in the right direction. That caused a bit of a check-up, though.
Yeah, I saw that car go into that other car, and I don't know how it wasn't a lot bigger than what it was.
Yeah, that was a big moment. Justin Witcher just got lucky getting underneath because that was almost a huge wreck. I would say Mackenzie's probably got some new boots on that car as well. He's got some fresher tyres on that thing. So he's got a little bit more pace, even though he's got quite a bit of damage. That car has got some good pace at the moment and is quite a bit faster than some of the other cars around it. So those fresh tyres may be helping him out a little bit as we've got 38 laps remaining here tonight in Las Vegas. It is season number 6 of the Australasian Supercar eSeries, brought to you by My Bright Sellers.
It is a real bit of a conundrum for McKenzie there because he might have fresh tyres on and he might be quick, but he's a laps down and he doesn't want to be. He wants to stay in touch with the leaders so he can get another one of those laps back when they pit, but he also doesn't want to sort of get in their way and cause any issues for them. So he's got a real delicate balancing act to do there.
Yeah, it's always a tricky position to be in when you're battling to try and keep those laps and trying to not lose too much time. There's always a big balancing act, as we are seeing a couple more people topping down into pit lane. The leaders still keeping it out there. Kim Roffey, Maddie Ray, Kobe Jordan all in pit lane at the moment. So this is also where you're most likely going to be seeing a caution, as well as you've got cars on different tyres, you've got cars on different strategies, you've got people coming into pit lane, people coming out of pit lane, you've got lapped cars that might be faster than the leaders, and then you've got leaders that may be faster than some of those damaged cars. So it starts to get very, very messy on track. It's very easy for a big accident to happen. So everybody's going to have to be really cautious here, just to stop themselves getting into a position where they can have an accident, because they do not want to see a caution flag flying if they are. If they've gone down pit lane already. Of course, if you're going to stick it out a bit longer, you probably want to see that caution flag to save you a couple of positions. Raymond Jaeger pulling it in, Ruben Phelps pulling it in as well. So a couple more people deciding to pop it down pit lane, but it's Witcher and Roffey at the moment racing side by side. Kate Donnelly, the luckiest man tonight after that big incident in front of him. He is sitting in third. So he's sort of going to be thanking his lucky stars that he didn't get caught in a bigger accident than he had. We haven't seen the caution flag so far tonight as well, so clean race so far. We're 100 laps in.
And which is coming into pits, got a couple of Simboy cars behind him as well, and there's a whole gaggle of cars coming in for the pits.
Oh, one of them almost had a big moment, and that was Todd Maxfield. His car was sideways as he got into the lane, but he managed to pull it up in the right time. Craig Roffey, Gary Wellman, the only two cars now that have not made their stop. They are 48 laps into this stint, so I imagine they'll be pitting in very shortly. I think that's Andy Barber maybe just having a little bit of a moment, just missing his pit box. Craig Roffey pulls it into pit lane now, and that's going to leave Gary Wellman out there, all on his lonesome. The only car not to have taken a pit stop. So as the rave keeps on happening in pit lane, as the cars hit their limiters and they start to pull out who is going to come out on top. Big race off pit lane. I think Andy Barber may have been the big victor in that one.
He's done well. He's definitely jumped up there. 21-second pit stop compared to Witcher's 24.3 pit stop.
Yeah, sorry, Adam Malone. Sorry, not Andy Barber.
Yeah, sorry, I meant Adam Malone as well. Sorry as well.
It's the green version of the car. But Andy Barber also had a very good stop as well. He jumped up a fair few positions too. So both of those cars really having a good stop. Gary Wellman's finally pulling it into pit lane after really saving the fuel and getting a nice long stint there. Craig Roffey is currently leading the race. Bit of a check-up for Roffey. I think he's just coming back onto the track, actually, and a lot of cars almost collected the back of him. So it's going to be Adam Malone leading the race ahead of Justin Witcher. So just see that the whole field catch up to him and have to really take avoiding action there. That was almost a big moment.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate timing there, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's got up to speed though, it's up to pace relatively quickly, but it just shows how quickly a race can end when you have those moments. Where's Gary Wellman going to pull out of pit lane? He's just exiting now. The leaders are crossing the start-finish line, so we'll keep our eyes on Gary Wellman. This is going to be crucial. Where does he come out in regards to the rest of the field? Getting up to speed now, coming through turns 1 and 2. There goes the leading pack. He's going to jump out just on the tail here, and he's going to lose a lot of pace here. He's going to fall back into the grasps of that second pack there. So sticking out that little bit longer has really hurt Gary Wellman.
That means Adam Malone is on point.
He is. After a fantastic pit stop, he absolutely nailed that last pit stop. Fantastic timing, really good entry and exit, and we've got 29 laps remaining, and it's Andy Barber in the lead, Justin Richard, Craig Roffey, Troy Davidson, Aaron Dillon, Raymond Jaeger, Andy Barber, and that is the front pack. They've got about a 2.5-3 second lead over the next pack, who is Gary Wellman, Kay Donnelly, Kim Roffey, Jai Schultz, Ruben Phelps, Nicholas Walsh, but they are charging along at a fair rate of knots. If this front pack can secure themselves together and work together and try and pull out a bit of a lead, they might be able to pull away from the rest of the pack. But, well, trying to get teams and random drivers to work together is a bit like herding cats, isn't it, Matt?
It is indeed, yeah. Yep, many a speedway race where I've tried to work with other drivers and they've just not had the same, been on the same game plan. But if you're Wellman and Donnelly, you know, you're in the chat, you're talking together, you know, you've got about 1.5 seconds gap, so you need to sort of work together and try and close that gap and then go from there, reassess. I think they're catching the group now anyway.
Yeah, there's not much time. They're down to a second now. Gary Wellman's within the position where he can start getting sucked up to the rest of this pack. So the rest of the field has caught up. So they did not work together. They did not manage to break away from that other group. And this means that we are going to go back to, well, 12 cars, I think, now battling it out. Nicholas Walsh, Christopher Finlay just dropped off a little bit. They're about 5 seconds behind the leaders. They've still got a chance to catch up to the rest of this group. So once again, the huge furball of cars gets together. The battle continues, and it's Craig Roffey back in the lead with Aaron Dillon just behind him.
Aaron Dillon cycled his way back up to the front again. It's good to see.
He's been having a solid run tonight in the 0-1-3. The Simboy's working very well, as I was expected, but Aaron Dillon having probably one of the better races I've seen for him this season. For the past few months as well. We know Aaron can be quick, but doesn't always have the best luck on his side. And tonight he is really taking advantage of that strong pace and really siding his way up through the field and putting in contention for a victory tonight. And just looking at the team championship wise, Troy Davison, Gary Wellman and Kate Donnelly are the Simboys entry cars. So as is the form with Simboys, guaranteed that they'll have not a great night, but the other drivers will have a very good one, and that's what's happening at the moment. As we're down 24 laps remaining on the lap 111. Race is coming to the end. A really solid drive from everybody tonight. We have not seen the caution as of yet. We've had some close calls though, but so far the dreaded yellow has not fallen. Some really good racing going on the track at the moment. As always, as we expect in the Australasian Supercar eSeries. You know, it's never hard to find the good racing going on. We're looking a little bit further down the pack with Kim Roffey, Jai Schultz. They are towards the tail of this group and battling along nicely. A few cars are slightly out of position after taking a little lick of damage, but the majority are still running very strong up towards the front of the pack, and it is Craig Roffey having a good run, but Raymond Yeager starting to press the advantage with teammate Justin Witcher there. The RKJ Web Services and Witcher Electrics cars are working their way up. They're currently tucked in behind the United Electricals Hot Toddy's car, and they've got one on the inside as well, as Gary Wellman's found himself up to the front of the field with 21 laps remaining. Not a surprise, I'm sure, to many, but Gary Wellman moving himself up nicely through the pack and getting himself towards the front for the finishing stages of this race.
Yeah, Gary's right up the pointy end when he needs to be. Sitting there in 5th spot now, but yeah, no surprise to see him there. Still on for taking the 3rd race in a row.
Yeah, a very strong start to the season. I mean, we're not used to seeing dominance in wins, really. It's very rare that people get 2 in a row, but 3 in a row would be a fantastic feat for Gary Wellman to achieve, because the competition is just so strong in these cars. We see it week in and week out with many people, many different leaders. You've always got to be on the top of your game, and so far Gary Wellman's been doing a great job of that. Watch out for Adam Malone though, he's very hungry in the number 3 tonight in the 7 Stars entry, and he's having a really good run right up there and putting the pressure on to the leaders. After that pit stop, he's come alive in that car and is really working well in the top parts of this race. You can never discount Raymond Yeager either, or Justin Witcher, both veterans, both former champions. They know what they need to do to get a victory. Troy Davidson sitting back in 6th, another former champion. Keep an eye out for him. He's not had a win in a little bit of time, Troy Davidson, but his consistency has been absolutely on point. And a victory tonight would be very popular indeed, and I'm sure he'd be quite happy to get that one in there too.
It's almost like you got to pick what colour you want. what colour you picking? You want to put it on green or you want to put it on red?
Well,
a few red cars there in the mix, a few green cars.
At the moment, the low line's taken up by green, isn't it? 3 greens up the front of the field. I mean, it looks like a safe bet to put the money on the green.
Put money on green.
But it is Vegas, so who knows? Could well be a purple or a pink car getting victory as well. At the moment, the purple car is flying forwards in Jaeger, and he has just got a nose ahead of Craig Rothie. Can't quite make it stick at the moment, but he's trying his best. 16 laps remaining here for Mark Marcello's Australasian Supercar eSeries here on Performance E streaming. Just to remind you, head over to the Australasian Supercar eSeries Facebook page after the race to get all the latest details, find out exactly what's happening with the stewarding and decisions. I imagine it's going to be a pretty cushy night for them tonight if we remain green to the end. Fairly easy one to adjudicate, but we know from the past it's very easy for it all to go wrong in the final stages. 15 laps to go. The aggression's going to start getting put to 11. Who is going to be holding it in the right place at the right time? Who is going to gamble? Who is going to settle? We will find out in just 15 short laps. And it's been a bit of a night where the guys that gambled to just ease off a little bit and not push forwards and get up into the lead in the early stages. It's really not paid off for them tonight because it has been such a long green flag run that they have not been able to take advantage and bank on that slight different of position to take advantage of a big accident. Still a long way to go though. Still 14 laps to go. Anything can happen. But they are running very well here tonight. We have seen some really close racing, some really good racing as well. Who is going to get it right?
I think we're starting to see the cars getting a bit closer to each other now, side by side, sort of trying to work a bit of a side draft and slow the other cars down.
Yeah, I've just been watching the front of Jaeger's car.
Ooh, yeah.
That's as close as you want to get. You could not get any closer than that if you tried. Those two cars were absolutely connected for a couple of milliseconds.
That's the problem if both drivers think about side drafting at the same time and move towards each other.
Can very quickly get senses. Oh, just behind Matt, there is a car going sideways. They just save it in time. I think that might have been Aaron Dillon. No.
I was going to mention it because Ruben Phelps decided I'm going to go 3 wide in the middle. And yeah, so we'll just try and grab the replay of it. So Ruben saw the gap in the middle, decided to put it in there, rightly so, and then got a bit of overlap, and I'm not sure that the two cars realised, and then they both squeezed together at the same time.
Ooh. They just saved it though. Real tense stuff. 11 laps to go, and back up the front is starting to get very, very tense as well.
Which is in the wall.
Close stuff, and yeah, Justin Witcher just caught the wall. I saw a big puff of smoke there, and that's really cut the speed off. That was a big moment between those cars. It is getting very, very tense now. Drivers are starting to get more and more aggressive, and these little tiny touches, all it takes is a little tiny touch in the wrong place and you're going to have a big accident on your hands. They're keeping it in the right direction at the moment, just about, but it's very much getting to that stage where it's not quite there. It's tense, I've got to say.
It is 10 laps to go now. You can definitely see the body language of the cars has changed. They're a lot more aggressive now in side drafts, trying to slow each other down. A lot more aggressive in moves, wanting to go 3 wide, bump drafting, and yeah. So if we're going to see any cautions tonight, this is the kind of driving behaviour that sort of does tend to lead towards those cautions happening.
It's getting to that stage where it's 8 laps to go. Could easily see a caution flag flying because the aggression gets turned up. Everybody wants to get a race win. It's always to that stage where you want to close your eyes and just hope for the best. Unfortunately, we can't do that up here in the booth. We have to keep our eyes open on all of this action, and we're getting some great action. Aaron Dillon getting a bit of a run up high, trying to get past Andy Barber there, getting a bit of a run in the background as they're just seeing almost 3 wide coming across the start finish straight. Still Jaeger and Roffey battling it out up to the front. Adam Lyne sitting in third with Andy Barber sitting fourth, Gary Wellman, Aaron Dillon, Ruben Phelps, Kate Donnelly, Justin Witcher and Troy Davison. That's our top 10. Kim Roffey just sneaking inside there now as well. Real close action, and just behind it is very, very tough stuff indeed. You can see Ruben Phelps in the middle there. He is sort of caught in an unenviable position. They are really going for it. Luckily, Las Vegas is quite a wide racetrack, so they are able to keep the cars 3-4 wide without too much issue. But you have to be so careful of the side draft, so careful of getting a little bit wobbly, because all it takes is that little wobble, little lapse of concentration, and you're in for a big, big accident.
Yeah, and we're seeing the cars go 2 wide, 3 wide, 2 wide, 3 wide, backwards and forths like that. So got to pay real close attention to your spotter, and hopefully he's calling those in time, as we see almost 4 wide, but 3 wide there.
Was Phelps getting up in the middle, and that's caused Aaron Dillon to get a big, big side swipe on. He just got a huge amount of dirty air on that car and just launched him up towards the wall. The car just got really unsettled, and that's taking Dillon out of this top group. We're keeping our eyes on the front action because there is quite a lot going on back in the pack as well. There's been a couple of little accidents, a couple of little touches here and there, but we cannot take our eyes off this front pack because we've got 5 laps remaining, and I think we're going to see some fireworks being launched soon. When will they explode? Well, we will not know, but I imagine it's not long until we hear them go pop. There is a lot of fast, frantic action going on. The aggression levels have been really turned on. People are getting impatient. Gary Wellman's looking to make his run now as well. He's sitting right there in third, just behind Jaeger. Down on the inside line is Adam Malone. We've got Craig Roffey still in the lead. Jaeger in second. They are really trying to position themselves for this final run to the flag.
Yeah, and Roffey needs to be careful on the exit of those corners that he doesn't leave too much space down low, because if Malone gets a good run out of the corner and he can get underneath onto the bottom of the corner, it will certainly help him get past.
Yeah, you've got to drive defensively and offensively in a position like this. It takes all of your concentration, all of that skill to position that car. You've got to be careful because you can see Malone wanting to get down the inside. He is trying desperately to get an inch just to get that nose underneath the rear of Craig Roffey's car to position himself to slide himself through there. Jaeger's doing a great job of keeping it tight though. He is pinching down, making sure Roffey can't move up as all. Malone just has a bit of a blink there as well. A couple of blinks there actually. Luckily it looks like it's settled down. Hopefully that does not continue because that can cause a big problem as well. We have 2 laps remaining. We are very much getting to the end as Malone's pitting. Did Malone miscalculate his fuel there, or is it some kind of technical failure? Adam Lyne, that's a shame for that car tonight as Jaeger and Roffey get so close to each other. You could not even fit the cigarette paper between those 2 cars. They were that close, not touching. But there was absolutely nothing. Now Gary Wellman's got to run on the high side. He's going to try and run around the outside. Can't quite make it work. He loses the draft a little bit. Has to drop down behind Jaeger. Luckily, Donnelly looks like he's given a little bit of a gap. Watch Ruben Phelps as well down on the inside for SRM. The white flag is out. We are coming up to the finish line faster and faster and faster. Here we come. Who has got it? We're going to find out as Ruben Phelps looks to go down the inside of Roffey. Roffey covers it off. This is giving Jaeger the chance to get a bit of a run. And now comes Gary Wellman. Gary Wellman on the high side looks to try and make it through. Doesn't have the speed. Roffey getting a good run here towards the line. Who's going to get it? We're going to find out very shortly. A little bit of contact between Wellman and Jaeger. And contact as they cross the line.
Big Rick, he's... Oh my lord, he's...
Yeah.
I think he's done it. I think he's done it.
The high line there was in exactly the right spot. We'll wait for everything to finish just to make sure it's all in the right place. A major finish there. Very close stuff. As Ruben Phelps tried to go down the inside, he just caught the grass. Caught the side of Craig Roffey. And as they cross the line, I think that is it. I'll just wait for everything to settle down. And it is this man, the 45, taking the third victory for the season 6 of the Australasian Supercar eSeries, brought to you by My Private Sellers. It is Gary Wellman for the Sim Boys, taking victory once again, 3 in a row for this man.
That's amazing. He's definitely got it sussed and worked out at the moment. To win 3 in a row in this type of racing is pretty crazy. You've seen how easy it is for things to go wrong and things to change, and through all of that, Gary is managing to worked it out how to be there at the top at the end of it.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job, and it wasn't looking too likely as they were coming up to the line. Wellman was a little bit behind. He had a good run off the corner, but it was that little bit of contact underneath that caused a little bit of a checkup. We'll try and get a bit of a replay of that finish.
Just have a look and see if we can grab it. Yeah. Let's
So
slow this down a bit.
So watch this one. It might be good to look from the chopper or the blimp, because you can see just how close it was. So Ruben Phelps runs down the inside. He just catches the grass, which launches him just a little bit into Roffey, flicks him up, spins Roffey around. Roffey collects the back of Jaeger, and that bit of contact was enough to make that car spin. And I reckon because it was sideways, there was 0.000 covering Wellman and Jaeger there. So there was absolutely nothing covering them across the line. But because Jaeger was sort of slightly sideways, he didn't have the car fully crossing the line. And yeah.
I think you're right. I think that little sideways contact might be just enough to upset it that's allowed Gary to win it.
I tell you what, does not get closer than that. We've seen some close finishes in the past, but absolute, as I said, it's 0.000 separating the winner and second place. But because that car was slightly pointing in the wrong direction, that is what gave Wellman the victory for the third time this season. It's Gary Wellman, the 45 Sim Boys, taking the win ahead of Jaeger and Ruben Phelps. So let's quickly run through our finishing order before we bring up the top 3. So it's Gary Wellman taking the win, as you can see there on screen. Absolutely nothing between himself and Jaeger. Ruben Phelps comes home third by the narrowest of margins, with Craig Roffey. Identical times for Roffey and Phelps as well. There was nothing between those two cars either. Justin Witcher comes home in 5th position with Kay Donnelly 6th. Troy Davidson 7th. 8th for Kim Roffey. Aaron Dillon 9th. And Jai Schultz brings it home in 10th. Chris Finlay brings it home in 11th with Nicholas Walsh. 12th, 13th for Crumb. Matty Ray in 14th. 15th for Kobe Jordan. Andy Barber 16th. 17th for Malone. Gretton 19th. Gretton 18th even. Grenshaw 19th, and 20th was Steve Hopper. Nigel Patton brings it home 21st, 22nd Maxfield. Tomlin in 23rd, 24th for Mackenzie, and Philip Howe did not make the race stop. So, fast and furious action, Matt. That was a insane finish, but a very close finish as well. So what we will do is we will bring up our third place finisher for SRM, Made by Brake and Mechanical. It is Ruben Phelps coming home in third tonight. Ruben, welcome to the booth, mate. Congratulations on a podium finish here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, howdy. It was that was an intense last 10 laps.
It was indeed. We saw early doors in the race. You dropped off the pack a little bit and were was sitting a little bit further behind everybody than you probably would have wanted. So obviously you had to work your way back up on to the back of the main group. How was doing that for you?
I wasn't. Well, I came a bit late to the practice session, so I sort of was like, let's just stay in sixth gear. But then me and Maddie decided, well, let's try it anyway and see what happens. Obviously, expecting a few yellows maybe during the race, so we weren't really wanting to push it. But once we got to about quarter of lap behind, we was like, no, we're probably best to catch up now. And unfortunately, Maddie never really got the opportunity to sort of get back there or at any point. But obviously, I got back up there, just used the strategies and just sort of kept with everything. And then that last 15 laps, I was like, I've got something here, but I have to use the middle. And obviously, there was a few daring situations where I just cut through the middle and cars getting sprung off the front of me. And I was like, I'm not giving up this middle. And then obviously the final lap, you just pretty much go for it from there.
Absolutely. We saw you really go for it on the final lap, a close finish between everybody up the front. But it looks like maybe you caught a little bit of the grass, and that's what flung you just slightly up towards Craig Rothie.
Yeah, I think there was like a slight little bump, but that sort of drove me into that grass. And once I get the grass, that front tire or the tire starts slide on the grass a wee bit, and by then you're sort of just controlling it. And then by then I hit Craig, and Craig hits Raymond, and then it obviously helped Gary sort of get that slingshot up the top because there's no contact until the start finish line. So yeah, it was a bit of a situation there, but I mean, heck, it's a good when it's a race like that. I mean, all hell or everything goes at the end, is it?
No, that is it. Look, fantastic run to the end and a podium tonight. Never a bad thing. Congratulations tonight, Ruben. Before I let you go, the usual thing, the love, the shout out, the sponsors. Let go, mate.
Okay, well, SRM Australia. Of course, Matty Ray for always joining me in these supercars now. Of course, Mobile Breaker Mechanical Repairs, Moondog, Murphy's Modded 10, and of course, you guys for putting the broadcast on. And, it's always good to watch back on, especially races like that. It's fun to watch. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. I hope you enjoy watching it back. Thanks for giving us such entertainment there at the end. Well done on P3 tonight, Ruben.
Yeah, cheers.
And of course, the biggest gainer as well, Ruben Phelps tonight, of 20 positions. A strong race indeed. Next up, it is the RKJ Web Services car of the Pinnacle Esports entry of Raymond Yeager. Raymond, welcome back to the booth, mate. Congratulations on P2 here tonight at Vegas.
Nah, cheers. Not what we wanted. Probably had the win until Ruben took everyone out, but it is what it is. Second will do, I guess.
Well, I'll talk to you about that one in a moment. But up until that point, there was some real strong racing between you guys. You sort of worked your way up to the front quite early on and were constantly battling there, not necessarily leading the pack, but you were there or thereabouts all night long.
Yeah, so early on, I took the bonus point for leading the lap and then just got back to the back of the sort of lead pack to sort of save fuel to try and make the pit stops as short as possible and go as far as possible as we could on the tanks. And then sort of once we got past that last pit stop, just thought, well, get to the front now and just go to the end and hope for the best, basically.
Well, you got to the end and almost got the best. There was absolutely nothing separating you and Gary Wellman there. The only thing we can sort of figure out is that because only one of your tyres crossed the line at the same time, it just didn't quite get you the position.
Yeah, I assume there's more numbers in iRacing or something. So yeah, dead heat, I guess, on the timing. But like I said, I watched the run to the line there, and I was starting to on that straight. I was starting to pull away from Gaz until Ruben hit Craig, and then Craig come up into me, and just lost a little bit of momentum, and that was all it took for Gaz to just edge me in by the looks.
I know he keeps doing that at the moment.
He's
doing well.
incredible, isn't he?
You must have been pretty happy though with the race because we saw a couple of little moments, but it was a green race from start to finish.
Yeah, no, the race was amazing. Honestly, when we get these sort of smaller fields than we usually have, I think we had about 25 or 24 tonight or something. And when we get those sort of fields, we generally only have 0 or 1 cautions, and we put on that sort of racing. It was credit to the drivers, and credit to Craig at the end there for not dooring me in any of the last 12 laps where we were basically touching the whole way around the track. So credit to Craig for holding it down.
Oh, absolutely. We saw you guys absolutely swapping the tiniest little bit of paint, the tiniest little bit of decal there, but you were absolutely on the point there. No major contact. Great driving there for those final, that final almost 12 laps, wasn't it? It was real spectacular stuff.
Yeah, it was about 12 laps, and I knew my best chance to sort of, have a win being on the outside there was to hold Craig down as low as I could. I knew it was risky because if he makes a slight mistake or if he just gets sick of me holding him down, he could just door me up and I'm out of the race. But credit to Craig, he's improved out of sight over the last sort of season and a half, and no longer makes those sort of rookie mistakes that potentially made earlier on in his career. But yeah, it was major fun racing those last 12 laps. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving us such great entertainment. Now, before I let you go, the usual thing, the love, the shout out, the sponsors. Let at it, Mr. Jaeger.
Firstly to the Pinnacle Esports boys, Nigel Patton, Justin Witcher, Matt Patton, and Greg Spencer. Without those boys, I wouldn't get on here and race. So thanks to those boys. Team sponsors, we've got My Private Seller, Witcher Electrics, RKJ Web Services. Also, obviously, they're sponsors of the league as well. For the league, we've also got Hot Toddy's Heating Install and United Electrical Solutions. And obviously, without the support of these sponsors, we wouldn't be able to bring this broadcast to you each week and hopefully provide the entertainment that we do. So, obviously, thanks to you guys as well, Performance E Streaming. You boys do an amazing job each week, putting out, having a call and putting out the content that we give. So, yeah, thanks to you guys, and obviously thanks to drivers mainly, because without them there is no league. So.
Absolutely, and look, it makes it easy when the races are fun and exciting like that. It makes our job very, very easy to do. Thank you so much, Roman Jaeger. Congratulations on P2 here tonight at Vegas.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Roman Jaeger there for Pinnacle, coming home in second. And finally tonight, it is the green flavour of Sim Boys, the man that has been, finding himself back in this booth week after week after week for his third win of season 6, 3 in a row. It's Gary Wellman.
Yeah, cheers, Carl. 3 in a row. I don't know. I didn't see that coming 3 weeks back, but I'm not complaining with it.
Now, coming up to the line there, you were sitting, maybe about 4th or 5th, I think, for a couple of moments. And then that final lap, you had a bit of a run on the high side. Wasn't looking so hot for a couple of moments, and then all of a sudden, everything opened up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I didn't expect to really get the lead. Obviously, I was thinking maybe if I get a podium hanging up high here, I would be happy with that. So, and I don't know, that all sort of unfolded underneath me and just did enough to sort of hold Ray up a little bit for me to sneak a coat of paint in front of him, I think.
I think it went off because you finished on an equal time. I think it went because you had 2 wheels on the line. He only had 1. I think that's what got you the win.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, he probably deserved it more than me. But anyway, that's racing, isn't it? So.
No, look, it was a solid run from yourself tonight, though. We saw you and all the Sim Boys team actually having a really strong run up the front of the field once more.
Yeah, the boys went well tonight. Actually, the whole team we had in tonight, we were in the top 7. So yeah, a good night for the team for sure tonight.
No, absolutely. And look, we've seen usually when it's you guys running well at the front of the field, it's usually the drivers that are not nominated for team positions that have the good runs. But tonight it looked like all 3 of the nominated drivers got inside the top 10.
Yeah, it's good to get that right. So definitely. Hopefully we can pull a few more of those off because that might sneak us back in front of the team's championship, I think. So that's that's the main one us boys hang out for. I think it's a good little sort of competition on the side that everyone wants to win that one, I think.
No, absolutely. A really solid job from you and the team tonight. Obviously, the race running green from start to finish, did that surprise you a little bit tonight?
Yeah, a little bit. Las Vegas, so nice and wide, and yeah, I don't know. I didn't really surprise me too much. I know looking through the drivers there tonight, and there's pretty solid field and good experience. So they're all been around for a while now, and we know how to race each other. So I think it's getting cleaner every week. So it was good to have a full green flag run and just see how that all played out for once. So it was no, it all turned out pretty good.
Oh, absolutely, it did indeed. And we were talking up here a little bit, tyre wise. Did you end up swapping tyres during that race?
Yeah, pretty much. I think most people did the same thing. Just went 2 full stints on the first set, and then went for the sprint on the last. So yeah, that wasn't too bad. I think yeah, we were pushing them up fairly well the first set, and still had enough, obviously, to punch a few laps out after everyone else went in without losing too much time. So no, it was good.
No, absolutely. And just on that final stop, we saw you coming out of pit lane, and it looked like you might have just dropped off the lead pack, but you managed to get the speed right back afterwards.
Yeah, I was lucky just to stay in the draft there. I think because I stayed out a couple extra laps, I think I was dropping about half a second a lap, and I might have overfueled it a little bit too because I had about 4 or 5 laps still. So I was happy to pull that pack in and be in the run for the line at the end.
No, absolutely solid work tonight, Mr. Wellman. Congratulations on 3 for 3 so far this season. You're becoming the odds-on favourite here in Las Vegas. Before I let you go, though, the usual thing, the love, the shout-out to sponsors and fans. Go for it, mate.
Cheers, you guys, for the broadcast as always, and the league. It's the boys love it. Sim boys, awesome team, and yeah, good to see we all had a pretty good night tonight. And just our sponsors, Hot Toddies Heating Installs and United Electrical Solution. The boys look after us, so thanks again to the boys there.
Absolutely. Look, fantastic tonight, Gary Wellman. Well done indeed. Congratulations on 3 for 3. Will you make it for 4 for 4? We will soon find out.
Yeah, I don't know where we are next week. But I don't know. I'm not too hopeful of that. I think the odds of stringing those wins together decreases every week. So we'll see what happens. Oh, shout out to me missus too. She's watching, I think. So she's up in Queensland at the moment. So cheers, Alana, for tuning in.
That's the most important one. You don't want to forget that one. Otherwise, you'll be in the doghouse.
Yeah, that's it. She's pretty happy. I think she got 3 shout outs last week. So she was up and about.
Congratulations tonight, Gary. And I'm sure we'll see you back in the booth soon, mate.
Righto, boys. Thanks for that.
Gary Wellman there for Sim Boys, making it 3 for 3 so far this season. As we said, can he do the 4? Well, we'll find out in a week or so's time, Matt. So, of course, we are wrapping up for this week's round of races on Performance E-Streaming. But again, we finish off the week with some fantastic racing here with the Australasian Supercar eSeries.
Yeah, another solid race as well. Always action-packed right up to the last moment. Pretty interesting. I've never seen that before. A dead heat for first and second, dead heat for third and fourth. Very interesting finish, that one.
Yeah, it was absolutely as close as you could make it. Of course, we have more action coming up over the next week. We will be seeing the trucks out tomorrow night, and then Wednesday night we have the Thunder Series, and then the Cup will be back on Thursday night. But then we are back here for the Texas round of the Australasian Supercar eSeries on June the 4th. So we will dust off our hands and go and have a bit of a relax now. And look, this is a big weekend of motorsport, so we hope you enjoy the coming up motorsport. Of course, the Indy 500, the Coke 600, and Monaco tonight as well. Starting the weekend off though with some great motorsport action here for the Australasian Supercar eSeries, brought to you by my favourite sellers. We will wish you all a good night from myself, Carl Wilkinson, with you, and of course, Mr. Matty Hunter. Good night, all, and we'll see you again soon.